Hello, our today's talk is about the torque developed in a three-phase induction motor. Torque is developed in three-phase induction motor due to the alignment of the magnetic field produced by three-phase stator windings and three-phase rotor windings. Let us discuss the various factors determining the electromagnetic torque produced in the motor. We know the electrical power converted into mechanical power by a motor P is given by 3I2 square R2 1 minus S over S, where I2 is the rotor current per phase, R2 is the rotor resistance per phase, and S is slip. Also, the power is given by another equation P is equal to omega t, where omega is the angular velocity in radians per second and T is the electromagnetic torque in Newton meters. Comparing these two equations, we can write omega t is equal to 3I2 square R2 1 minus S over S. Or we can write it as 3I2 square R2, this S is shifted here, divided by S, 1 minus S divided by this omega comes here. Now, omega is given by the equation omega is equal to omega S into 1 minus S, where omega S is the synchronous speed in radians per second and omega is the speed in radians per second, angular speed. From these two, from here we can write 1 over omega S is equal to 1 minus S over omega. Now this term 1 minus S over omega is replaced by 1 over omega S, this here. So our equation becomes 3t is equal to 3 divided by omega S, I2 square R2 divided by S, where omega is angular speed in radian per second, omega S is angular synchronous speed in radian per second, and T is the torque developed by an induction motor in Newton meter. Also, we know that current I2, rotor current, is given by the equation S E2S divided by R2 square plus S X2S whole square, the root under the root. And substituting this value of current in the torque equation on the previous page, you can again once watch. We have to substitute this I2 square by current equation. What we get 3 over omega S. In place of I2 we are writing this equation S E2S over R2 square S X2S square or square root multiplied by R2 over S. Now this comes out to be 3 over omega S S E2S square. This is S, this becomes S square, square is opened, S square divided by S, 1S remains here, E2S square right here, R2 is right here. While squaring, this square root cancels out and the bottom is R2 square plus S X2S whole square, or dividing this equation by slip S on numerator and denominator side, we get T is equal to 3 over omega S S E2S square R2 over S divided by R2 over S square plus X2S square. This is the required condition for torque developed in an induction motor under running conditions. From here we can see the torque depends upon various factors. The slip, EMF induced in rotor winding at standstill, however it is constant, but while designing the motor it determines how much torque will be produced. And resistance of the rotor also affects the torque. Reactance of the motor also affects the torque. These are the factors determining the torque produced given by this expression. Now let us see when this torque will be maximum. The full load torque equation as derived by us is T is equal to 3 over omega S SC2S square R2 divided by R2 square plus SX2S whole square. Out of this 3 omega S and E2S square, these are constant. Therefore, they may be taken out. Now, condition to find the condition for maximum torque, a function is maximum when its derivative with respect to the variable term is 0. So here torque is our term which we have to decide when it will be maximum, and on the right hand side the only variable is S. All other terms are constant once the motor is designed. So we differentiate it with respect to S. dt by ds is equal to 0. Under these conditions the torque will be maximum. Now right hand side, this constant terms are taken out, remaining d by ds of SR2 over R2 square plus S square X2S square is equal to 0. Now this is u over v case of the differentiation. D by dx of u over v is v du by dx minus u dv by dx by v square. Applying, so in our case v is this term R2 square plus S square X2S square, and u is our SR2. These three terms are cancelled by 0 already. So first we have to write v means denominator R2 square plus S square X2S square, and derivative of SR2 with respect to S, d by ds of SR2, it is R2 because d by ds of S is 1, minus this from formula u means SR2 numerator, and dy ds of this term R2 square plus S square X2S square. Now derivative of R2 is a constant term, derivative of constant is 0, and S square, dy ds of S square is 2S, so it becomes 2S X2S square, divide by the square of denominator. Here the square is missing, square of this term, square of the denominator. However, this whole term will be cancelled when it is multiplied with 0 on the right hand side. So remaining is only left hand side. Now what we are left with is that R2 square plus S square X2S square multiplied by R2, this term, and this term becomes this multiplied by 0, 0, this multiplied by this, it becomes out to be S into S square 2S square R2 X2S square. These two terms multiplied comes out to be, here we have shifted it to the right hand side, so minus sign becomes positive. So here is 2S square X2S square, and on left side it is S square X2S square. When we take it to the right, 2 minus 1, it will become 1S square over X2S square. So final expression is R2 square is S square X2S square. If we take square root on both sides, what will happen? R2 square is R2 is equal to S X2S. R2 is rotor resistance per phase and X2S is rotor reactance per phase under running conditions. So this is our required condition for torque to be maximum, that the resistance of rotor circuit should be equal to the reactance of the rotor circuit under running conditions. So we can say that if these two are equal, then the torque will be maximum. So the condition for maximum torque is that rotor resistance should be equal to rotor reactance, and slip at which torque is maximum, R2 is equal to Sx2s, so S is equal to R2 over X2s. The slip at which torque is maximum, it will be R2 over X2s. So we have two conditions for torque to be maximum. One is that R2 should be equal to Sx2s, or we can say that slip should be equal to R2 over X2s. Both the conditions satisfy the maximum torque. Under these conditions, the torque will be maximum. Or in simple words, we can say rotor resistance is equal to rotor reactance. The torque will be maximum. Substituting R2 is equal to Sx2s in full load torque equation in place of R2 square. Here it was 3SE2s R2 square. We are writing here Sx2s square. And similarly in denominator here it was R2 square, and we are substituting for it Sx2s square. So finally what we get here comes out to be 2Sx2s square in the denominator. In the numerator it is Sx2s. This square is not there. In the numerator it is only R2. The value of R2 is Sx2s here. Square is not there. Here it is square. This term is also square. So this becomes 2s. Same terms are there. 2Sx2s square. Square of Sx2s cancels with numerator Sx2s. So we left with Tm is equal to 3E2s square divided by 2 omega s x2s. 2 omega s x2s. Slip cancels with the slip of denominator. Here s into s square, it will cancel with this s square, taking common. So our final torque is T maximum. Tm is the notation for maximum torque. It is 3E2s square over 2 omega s x2s. This shows that the maximum torque is inversely proportional to the rotor reactance. If rotor reactance is much more, maximum torque will be less. So we have to design the motor accordingly to minimize the rotor reactance to have maximum torque. Also it depends upon the synchronous speed as well as the EMF induced in rotor at standstill. So to achieve this maximum torque, rotor resistance should be low. Rotor resistance should be low. Sorry, rotor reactance, not rotor resistance. Rotor reactance should be low. I will correct here. Rotor reactance X2S should be low, and it can be achieved by placing rotor conductors near the outer periphery. Deeper the rotor conductors, more will be the X2S. So we will take it best near to the outer periphery, and reducing air gap to minimum. If air gap is much more, X2S will be, leakage flux will be more, and rotor reactance will be more. So to have maximum torque more, we can design the motor accordingly. So this was regarding the maximum torque. And next is the starting torque. It is the torque at the time of starting. How much will be the torque at the time of start? Very simple. We know the torque equation. This is the torque equation. 3 over omega s C2s square R2 square plus Sx2s whole square. At the time of starting, we know slip is equal to 1. So substituting s is equal to 1, we got the starting torque in this equation. In place of s we will write 1. It is 3 e2s square r2 divided by omega s r2 square x2s square. This is our starting torque. If we want to obtain the maximum torque at the time of starting, the value of slip is equal to 1 for maximum torque. Therefore r2 is equal to sx2s, but at the time of starting s is equal to 1, so r2 is equal to x2s. If the resistance of the motor is made equal to the rotor reactance at standstill, the torque will be maximum at the time of starting. Generally, the value of resistance is kept low to minimize the copper losses. So reactance is generally high, but we can do that at the time of starting. Some resistance may be inserted in the rotor circuit. It should be made equal to x2s. As the motor picks up speed, then this rotor resistance may be reduced, but it is possible in the slip ring induction motor only, where we can insert resistance in the rotor circuit. In squirrel cage rotor we cannot do that. So the starting torque of squirrel cage motor is always low. To have starting torque maximum, the value of rotor resistance must be equal to the standstill rotor reactance. Now let us see their ratios and simplify the relations further. We can write the equations for all the torques: starting torque, maximum torque, full load torque we already know. The ratio of starting to maximum, dividing this by this equation, what we have, this equation divided by this. But remains is 2r2 x2s over r2 square plus x2s square. Rest all things cancel out. See, 3e2s square, 3e2s here cancels out. Omega s cancels out, right? This x2s comes on the top and becomes r2 x2s. This term will remain in the bottom. Now here again one mathematical step is here, dividing this equation on numerator and denominator side by x2s square and dividing this also by x2s square. Now dividing this by x2s square, it will become r2 over x2s, and dividing the denominator by x2s square, it is r2 over x2s square, whole the denominator is to be divided. r2 over x2s square divided by x2s square divided by it is equal to 1. So we can put a common value, a is equal to r2 over x2s. Suppose a is equal to r2 over x2s, where a is the ratio of rotor resistance to rotor reactance at standstill. So here the simple expression is Ts over Tm is 2a over a square plus 1, where a is the ratio of rotor resistance to standstill rotor reactance. So if we know starting torque, we can find out and know the ratio of these resistances. We can find out the maximum torque and vice versa. Another relation is between full load torque and maximum torque. The same way we can write the equations for full load as well as maximum torque, then dividing this equation first by second. T over Tm is equal to this term divided by this term we have written here. After cancelling the common terms, T by Tm is equal to 2s r2 x2s r2 square plus s x2s square. The only difference from the previous case is there here appears the s, one s appears here, rest all is same. So in the same way, dividing by x2s square, we have 2s r2 over x2s r2 square over x2s whole square plus s square. So again by substituting a for R2 over X2S, that is ratio of rotor resistance to standstill rotor reactance. We find T over Tm is equal to 2As over A square plus Sk. That is, the ratio of full load torque to maximum torque is equal to 2As over A square plus S square, where A is the ratio of rotor resistance to standstill rotor reactance and S is the slip. Next is the effect of change in supply voltage. How the torque is affected when the supply voltage changes. That is, whether the voltage increases or decreases from the rated voltage. The T equation for T is, again we have written same, 3 over omega S SC2 S square R2 square plus SX2 S square. Now 3 and omega S are constant. Considering these to be constant, remaining is SE2S square R2 over R2 square plus SX2S square. Remaining terms we have written as it is in the first equation. Now, the EMF induced in the rotor under standstill conditions, on what it will depend. This EMF is induced due to the magnetic field produced by three-phase windings of stator, and stator winding flux depends upon stator current depends upon the supply voltage V. So we can say that EMF induced in the rotor at standstill E2S is proportional to V. E2S is proportional to V. In other words, we can say that the EMF induced opposes its very cause. So cause of the EMF induced is V. Therefore, more is the V, more will be the EMF induced E2S. So E2S is proportional to V. So we have substituted V for E2S square. It becomes V square. Again, you can see that in this torque formula, the standstill EMF induced in the rotor per phase, that will depend upon the supply voltage. It is proportional to voltage, so E2S square can be replaced by V square. Rest of the equation is same. Another supposition we have to make is that at full load slip is very small, therefore square of the slip is further small and can be neglected. This term S square X2S square is very small as compared to R2 and can be neglected. By neglecting this term, what we remain with, it is S V square R2 over R2 square. Here it is R2 square, bottom term. This is R2 square. However, R2, these are constant, so torque is proportional to SV square. S and V both are variable, slip and voltage both are variable. It means from here we can say that torque is directly proportional to the square of voltage. It means a small change in voltage will abruptly change the torque. If voltage decreases, then torque abruptly decreases. And if the motor is running on load, it may refuse to continue and may stop due to the protective devices. It may not work. So it is suggested to run three-phase induction motors at constant voltage. Another way we can understand that if voltage decreases, if we are running the motor at same load, then T requirement of torque is same. Then if V decreases, its square further becomes a small value. To continue with the same torque, to drive the load of same torque, if V decreases, S is to be increased. If slip increases, the motor will draw more current from the lines, and protective devices may switch off the motor. So the effect of the change in supply voltage is taken very seriously in three-phase induction motors, because three-phase induction motor torque is very sensitive to the supply voltage. Therefore, it is suggested to run three-phase motors at constant voltage. Thank you.